What's up guys, and welcome back to another video covering Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Now, technically the games are officially out in Australia and Japan as I'm recording this video, and obviously over the next few hours it'll sort of do its sweep across the globe and become technically able to play and download from the eShop in Europe and then eventually America. Sorry America. So today I'm going to talk about my 5 disappointments with the games. So one of my 5 improvements yesterday, but there are still many flaws in the game in my opinion, or not flaws, but things that could have been improved upon that weren't, and things that need to be added really. So, starting off at number 5, we have no tutorial skip. So, the tutorial is basically unchanged from Sun and Moon. There's a very slight improvement in which you get your starter Pokemon within the first 5-10 minutes as opposed to the first 20 minutes, but it's not much of an improvement because the whole tutorial sort of wave, which leads you to go to save Lily with Nebby, ends up then going back to Iki Town, then you go back up to Iki Town for the festival, have your battle with How, then you come the next day and you get welcomed on the same day by Professor Kukui to go on Route 1, and then you said hello to by Lily, who then welcomes you and brings you down to the Professor's lab, and you can't go anywhere else until that's done. And then you come back to the Pokemon Center, then you get access to the Trainer School, and you have to go through the Trainer School tutorial sort of thing. It's not really a tutorial, but it's a very set, do this, do that, do this, do that, etc. And then eventually you get a bit more of a free roam and still have to go through the Z-move tutorial with Professor Kukui, even though you know how to use a Z-move. There's no tutorial skip. Now this tutorial is controversial in Pokemon games because generally not too much of a tutorial is needed. Back in Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby Sapphire Emerald, you just got let out of the door. You got your Pokemon, you maybe got a quick tutorial on battling, but apart from that you're outdoor and you can do what you wanted. Whereas lately, not happening at all. Now, at least a skip should be put in. In the introduction to the game, when Kukui is saying hello to you on the laptop, he should say something on the lines of, "So buddy, are you an experienced trainer returning, or are you a newbie who'd like to be shown the ropes?" Something like that. And just give us the option to skip all of this crap. Of course, some of the story stuff you can't really skip because you have to go through that method, and that's just how the story's built, which is just inherently wrong with how the games are written and scripted that way. But hopefully they'll see sense and at least give us a skip in the future. Nothing in Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon though, hence that's one of my disappointments. You still have to sit for like an hour and a half of tutorial before you get to a Pokemon Center. And number 4, we have plot removals. Now, I'm not too fussed about this, but I understand why some people are, and it mainly revolves around one aspect or one event from the plotline that's removed, and this is the fact that when you go to Executor Island to get the Sun or the Moon Flute, Lily does not come with you because she's not a Pokemon trainer, that's what she's told. Hence, you don't get the scene with Lily in the rain under the sort of overhang, and she doesn't talk to you about her mother or her childhood or nothing, anything like that is not spoken about. And there are a few other plot removals, and it's mainly due to the fact that the plot is built in to include more of a threat, whereas Sun and Moon is really the first Pokemon game that you could purely describe as family drama, rather than like something is going to destroy the world, as it was in. I mean, apart from Fire and Leaf Green, I suppose the plot was very light there, and it was mainly, yes, an evil team is going to take over the world, whereas obviously Ruby Sapphire Emerald is something is going to destroy the world, you must save it. Diamond Pearl Platinum, obviously Cyrus is going to create a new world, it might kill someone in the process, so you have to save it. Heart Gold Silver, again similarly, it's just Team Rocket plotline, but Black White, gets this is gonna take away everyone's Pokemon, you have to save them. There's some overarching plot in almost all games apart from Sun and Moon, which is more family drama, because again, Team Skull is never really much of a threat, apart from kidnapping Lily, and the If Foundation you only find out is a threat when you then have to take them out, and that's dealt with. So really it was family drama in the case of like Lily and Lusamine. However, that's mostly removed now, so that's sort of the plot that's been removed. That's what people are complaining about, which I think is fair enough. You could have still included some level of plot. There is some in there, but it's not as deep as before, so it could have been left in, including the scene with Lily on Executor Island. There's not really much reason to actually remove that, apart from just a personal choice in terms of how they wanted to do games. But it's definitely disappointing for some people, hence why it's included. Moving on to number 3, this is a big disappointment for me really, and this is that there's no national dex in the game. Now, I didn't really think there would be, however it's still a disappointment there is not. Sun and Moon were the first games not to have a national dex in them. You know, even Oras had national dex once you'd completed the home dex, for example. And really that's a big problem. I'll be doing a video in the future talking about what it actually means for the future of the game series, but it is a disappointment to many people who didn't like the fact that there was no national dex in Sun and Moon in the first place. The whole idea of having Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is to update the games to fix some of the flaws that were given as feedback from players, similar to the no tutorial skip. A lot of players complain about the tutorial section in Sun and Moon, but there was nothing given or done to alleviate that apart from moving the starters forward. So it's a bit of a disappointment. There's not really any huge reason why it couldn't be in the game. Yes, okay, it takes up more space, so the game size is slightly larger, so maybe you argue it has to be taken out to accommodate for the larger landscapes and such. That's fair enough. However, I'm sure there is a way they can fit it in, even if it is very light, in case not having Pokédex entries themselves, but just still allowing you to actually view the Pokemon's model, review their number, etc. But that's how it is. Moving on to number 2, this is the second biggest disappointment for me really, is that 80% of the plot of the games is the same. Now when I say plot here, I mean the main game. Of course the post game is vastly changed, but I'm talking about the main game here because that's actually what you have to play through to get to the post game. When I played through Ultra Moon, I felt like for 80% of the game I was playing exactly the same game as beforehand. The only slight differences was the fact that the Ultra Recon Squad would every now and again pop up and battle you or say something, but really that was happening too sparsely to really feel like it was different. The whole plot, the whole plot flow is actually the same as in Sun and Moon. I'll actually again be doing a video on that in the future to talk about that. The whole plot flow is the same, so you go through Melee Island the exact same way. You go through Akala Island the exact same way. You go through Ula Ula Island the exact same way, and Pony Island you go through the exact same way. There is no difference in the flow of the plot through the landscape and the region, which really gives you the sense that you're playing exactly the same game as before. So really it was a big disappointment for me because, I sort of went from waves of whether the games were worth it or not. Obviously leading up to the game, saying like, well, there's no new information, it seems like it's just going to be an update, I'm not that excited for the games. Rainbow Rocket's announced, I'm pretty excited for the games. I found out there's no Alolan Forms, I'm not that excited for the games. Similarly, playing through the game and having to deal with the same plot over and over and over, I'm not very excited for the games. Eventually when we got to Rainbow Rocket, yes, I got excited for the games because the fact that I'm buying like 2 copies of each, it's what I do. And I wasn't really feeling that excited for it. I'm feeling okay about it now, they are decent games, but having to play through the same plot as before, and I'll basically end up with 8 games that have the same story in them, and that feels a bit rough. So of course it's my choice, but that's what it is. So moving on to my top disappointment, and of course many people's top disappointment, the fact that there are no new Alolan Forms in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Now you can argue maybe it's because people thought there was a leak that had RR in it, which people then linked to Rainbow Rocket, and that leak stated that there were new Alolan Forms. So you could argue that people jumped on that and were getting their expectations up, expecting new Alolan Forms when really there was nothing confirmed and they shouldn't have thought it in the first place. However, it's definitely something you could have thought about. Looking back at Gen 6, Mega Evolutions were introduced in X and Y. Oras came out as the next game, and what did it do? It introduced a whole host of new Megas thanks to the Hoenn region. So what has Sun and Moon done? They've given us another new mechanic in the Alolan Forms. The first point there is they didn't actually introduce any more Mega Evolutions, which again people were disappointed with. You can argue, and I would support the fact that yes, they were trying to make the emphasis on Alolan Forms and Z moves, and that's why there weren't any new Megas introduced, that's fair enough. However, then when you come through into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and there are no new Alolan Forms at all, you have to sort of think about it for a second and say, right, so you've introduced this new mechanic, and you want to give it some spotlight for a bit, but then you don't actually build on it at all. And the other thing to point out is that obviously all the Alolan Forms were from Kanto, which means that there are no Alolan Forms from any other region than Kanto, and again, People complain about it a lot, but I do see the point every now and again. Kanto pandering or Gen 1 pandering is a huge thing in the game series. A lot of Mega Evolutions were Kanto pandering. You had 2 Mega Evolutions for Mewtwo, 2 for Charizard, for no other Pokemon but those. There were actually quite a few Mega Evolution Generation 1 too. Kalos is like a new Generation 1. You got Gen 1 starters, all of that there. Similarly, in in Sun and Moon, all of the Alolan forms were from Kanto, which is fair enough. But then if they'd come along in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and given us some Johto Alolan forms, that would have at least shifted it away from Gen 1 pandering a bit. It'd be more like, right, well, they're sort of refreshing an older generation. That works out. However, now that we have nothing from Johto and it's all just Kanto, it really does stand out as pandering to Generation 1. You know, the only Pokemon you see get a huge spotlight are of course Pikachu, it's the mascot, but Charizard gets huge spotlight as well. Mewtwo, they're fair enough, they're popular Pokemon. But Generation 5, when have you ever seen a proper Generation 5 Pokemon get a big spotlight in any sort of media? Not that often, because obviously, as I said, it's to do with the popularity of the Pokemon, but at the same time, Pokemon aren't going to be popular if you don't give them any spotlight. So those are just my thoughts on that, but yes, that's my top disappointment for the games. There were no new Alolan forms. Just a few new Ultra Beasts, which of course you don't really get until the end of the main game or the post game anyway, which really doesn't matter at all, so the whole journey feels like a rehash of Sun and Moon, which it is, but at least it doesn't feel different enough. So those are just my thoughts, of course. If you've played the games, let me know down below in the comment section what you think. Do you share my disappointments? Were you sort of fine with no new Alolan forms? Were you fine with the plot being the same? Was that what you were expecting, or were you expecting more? Let me know down below in the comment section, and if you're sort of starting to play the games now, or awaiting the games tomorrow, let me know what you hope for from the games. But this will be it for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.